Hello everybody, my name is Pravus, and welcome back to more Plague Inc. Evolved Custom Scenarios. Got a request today for a scenario called The Black Fungus by Neil B67, which is apparently based off of a current black fungus strain that has been affecting India in May 2021, rather terrifying. Named mucormycosis, never heard of this one actually before. This disease can go into the eyes and brain, causing blindness and damage, mostly seen in recovered COVID-19 patients. Well, that's terrifying. I actually don't think I've heard of this before. I may have to look this up afterwards to see if this is actually fictional, but based on the description, I don't think that it is. Let's go ahead and go for the metabolic jump. We know that we like that. I guess I'm okay with taking the Darwinist this time around. We'll go for, I guess, the Aquasite. Though for the fungus, it's not quite as important. Extremophile, and finally, I'm going to go for the Pathostasis, so we will be able to make use of the fungal bursts very effectively. All right, mucormycosis. Welcome to the black fungus, very infectious and lethal. It can spread very fast and cause havoc. Now, fungi aren't known for being super spreaders exactly, though they can be under the right circumstances. The big advantage of the fungus, of course, is if you do have the spore bursts, being able to get a foothold in lots of different continents early on, so you kind of hit that critical mass stage of exponential growth a little bit sooner. Let's take a look at the transmission. So we have leaf litter, spores existing inside of the leaves, making leaves a vector of transmission. Okay. Then we have fecal matter. I think we all know what that involves. Fomites, blood, air, and water. Also, cross-human transmission. Fungus becomes contagious, so it can spread between people. Increases infectivity, but also increasing mutation chance. Are you saying it's not infecting people now? Is it supposed to be mostly based in animals or not? I don't know. Anyway, okay. So we also have rash as our initial starting symptom, which usually is a pretty decent symptom, a little severity and infectivity, pretty cheap. We also can get fever. Now, I don't like the idea of getting lethality very early on, so maybe we need to find some other options. We have our cold, heat, and drug resistance. We have vaccine resistance, making it hard to cure. Okay. And rhinocerebral mucormycosis, whatever you say that is. Rhinocerebral sinus and brain is an infection of the sinuses that can spread to the brain. Okay, so we infect the nasal cavities and start encroaching further inside of the head. And then there is a spore burst, which we will save for a little bit later. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the cross-human transmission. Mutation chance could come back to bite me, but I do think that having that extra huge burst of infectivity could certainly be useful. Beyond that, starting in India, going for water transmission might be a good way for us to go, since this is considered to be a humid country. It is beginning to spread, you don't say. Gosh, I need to find a way to turn all these things off. As if I even need pop-ups. Good Lord, do you even know who I am? One of these days, I'd like to actually be able to do that in life, you know? Fever's here already. Okay, we gotta get rid of that. I would like to actually be able to pull a do you know who I am on people, just to see what would happen, you know? I mean, it's like the ultimate pretentious, thing to say, but I don't know, I feel pretty good about it. Let's go for leaf litter, again, affecting some of the humid areas, since that's, gonna affect India as well as pretty much all the surrounding countries, unless they go west to Pakistan, but even so. What else do we want to get? Do we want to go for the air transmission? I think we will, even though it's not necessarily affecting India specifically. Just getting on a plane and getting out of here might be worthwhile. The next thing, though, is I really want to find out if there's some, other ways of getting additional symptoms. Like, if I go for this, right, will this open up something new? It does. Okay. So that means we can get some more severity. And what I want to do with severity is get that up to a reasonable level, so once I start popping the spore bursts and getting extra red bubbles, we can maximize our amount of DNA. Of course, at some point, there's a trade-off where I'm pretty sure we are actually slowing down our exponential growth by a pretty large amount. Simply by not just, picking the spore bursts up now. So maybe we should have just done that right off the bat. I don't know. What other symptoms can we get? So we got headache for free, then we can go for blurry vision. That's actually pretty good for the severity. I think I'd like to at least get blurry vision, and then we can go for some spore bursts. So that'll be nice. Also, this slows down the cure. We also have access to gingivitis, which is a pathogen in the gum in the oral cavity, causes the gums, to ache, increasing severity. Let's go ahead and grab that spore burst, as I was saying. Let's see what we're going to get. Okay, a couple places in Asia. None of those are actually very helpful. Let's go for some more spore bursts. We get, okay, finally in South America, at least one new continent. These are rather weak spore bursts. It's just one new country. So Iceland, looks like, then Australia. We'll go ahead and pick up another. Okay, that's not helpful either. Fine. Let's go for some drug resistance, some cold resistance. We could get pulmonary mycorrhizacosis, which is going to affect the lungs, immunocompromised patients. I'm sorry. Interesting. So it shows the lungs, but that's not actually what it is. It's just for immunocompromised patients. Okay. Gastrointestinal fungus and cutaneous fungus, which is going to affect the skin. Interesting. Okay, fair enough. Let's go for some fomite so we can start affecting rich regions, because we're now starting to get into places in Europe, and I do want to increase the spread there a lot, because obviously they have the largest impact on the cure. Beyond that, gingivitis is sort of okay. I don't really see it as being that great, though. Let's go for the gastrointestinal. I imagine this opens up something new. It does. Nausea. This is relatively easy to work with. Also, hematemesis. The upper gastrointestinal bleeds, causing infected to vomit out blood. Disgusting, but a bit of extra infectivity and severity, which means my spore bursts are going to be even more impactful, at least in terms of how much DNA they give me. I can harvest you humans. Aha! Spore eruption. Release a whole load into the air. All right, we'll do that, and then there's a spore hardening. The spores will be continually released. Why not? Oh, wow. Okay, yep. Now we're going to start rolling in the points. This is beautiful. Beautiful. All right. All right. So what else do you want? How about the skin? Because maybe this will lead to other things beyond rash. Black lesions. Blech. Breakdown in the epidermis causes large open wounds, which significantly increase the infectivity. Seems a bit like the skin lesions. This leads to my favorite, necrosis. We certainly do like that. There's also hemorrhoids. Okay, so poop goes bloody. And then unstable angina, which is affecting the coronary artery system. Okay, sometimes leads to a heart attack. Crohn's disease. Yeah, that's pretty unpleasant for the digestive system, no doubt about it. Let's go for some more air transmission. I think that we're going to need some of that help. Wow! Okay. Well, I was worried about getting into some countries around Africa and stuff. I'm a little bit less concerned all of a sudden. Let's go for some rural transmission, some more water transmission. I think that's probably all we're really going to need for transmissions. As long as the spores continue to do their thing, we should be sort of all right. Let's go for some more drug resistance so we spread a little bit faster. I do want to get the cold resistance level 2. Hoping to get a nice boost in Russia and Norway and stuff, get a boat over into Greenland a little sooner. We're still missing the Caribbean, Greenland, and New Guinea. New Guinea we're getting into right now. We should be able to get into the Caribbean as long as the US hits critical mass, which they're getting there, and we did just hit up in Greenland, so that's great. Disseminated mycorrhizosis. Fungus harder to detect due to symbiosis with other pathogen, harder to cure, and decreases the severity. Now, it's debatable whether that's useful to me or not. Maybe. I'm debating whether I want to go straight for the necrosis, because I do think that we get, yep, there we go, we get into the Caribbean, so we're set there. Necrotizing fasciitis, a serious infection that destroys tissue under the skin. We know that from Bio Inc. Very lethal. Very, very lethal indeed. Well, we can pick up at least a little bit of lethality. I don't have to go too crazy. Let's get the fever. That leads to conjunctivitis. Gingivitis will lead to sinusitis? I've never heard of this before. Affects the sinus, inflames it, causes one side of the face to swell. I guess because it's only affecting one side of the face's sinus cavities. Have you ever seen sinus cavities? They're actually rather terrifying to me. Like all these little pockets all up and down the skull in the area around your face. Kind of nuts. Honestly, kind of nuts. I'm going to get a level of heat resistance because we're still spreading, I think, a little slowly in Africa. We can get coughing. We can get dyspnea, which is going to result in shortness of breath, but doesn't do a whole lot for me beyond that. Seems like necrotizing fasciitis is probably my way to go if we really want to start ramping up that lethality. We're in every country. Is there any reason really at this point not to do so? Well, mainly it's expensive as frick all of a sudden. All right, fine. Well, we should be able to get at least a little bit more points. There we go. Start ramping that up. That's going to lead to septic shock. Of course, localized or symptom-wide infection, which requires immediate treatment. Basically, a full-body infection. Horrible, horrible stuff. We're starting to get some pretty serious cure rate here, and I am not getting enough DNA to really fight that back. I was kind of expecting to be able to reduce the cure speed a little bit more based on the fact that we had things like headache and blurry vision, but it doesn't seem to have done a whole lot for me, and genetic hardening isn't going to do me a lot of good either. I kind of need to be able to get to a genetic reshuffle if we want to have a chance at this. Well, I can pick up the next level and slow things down a little bit more. Here comes lethality. We might barely make this, but it's getting a little on the close side. There we go. Bought ourselves at least a fair bit more wiggle room. Thank you very much. 39 DNA for septic shock is a little on the expensive side. Not going to really be able to benefit from that. All right, well, this is as much lethality as I think I'm going to get. Let's go for conjunctivitis. I just want to see what happens down here. Subconjunctival hemorrhage, blood vessels between the conjunctive and sclera burst, causing severe red eyes with occasional external bleeding, decreasing the research speed. Actually could work fairly well for what I'm looking for. We got enough points, we'll go ahead and do that. That leads to blindness, which is slightly lethal. There are actually quite a few paths we could take in this severity tree, you know, the symptom tree. It's not like we have like only one path. in a custom scenario. I could see several different ways to approach this depending on what we want to do, which is good. It means that I don't feel like I'm like railroaded into one specific way of playing this particular scenario. That's a very good thing. I like that a lot. 41 DNA. Gosh, you guys just keep raising your prices all the time. Fine, whatever. I wanted to see what was going to happen behind the septic shock, but I guess we're not going to unless somehow it just drops in price right about now. We're really close to getting up to the 41 DNA. I wanted to see it. Maybe we'll get there in a second. There it is. Hey, what happens beyond that? Multiple organ dysfunction, high chance of death. You don't say. 52 DNA? All right, fair enough. On this particular scenario, I think I should have gone for the symptostasis. Seems to me that the price for all of these different symptoms has gone up way too much. Pathostasis is nice, but when there's this many custom symptoms to work with, you want to be able to have your pick of the litter, right? You got a finite budget to work with. All right, so the black fungus that apparently is actively affecting India right now, especially those recovering from COVID, has now begun to destroy the world. So, yeah, if this exists, that's rather horrifying. And why does it specifically affect COVID patients? I don't know. What could be in India specific? I mean, I know that India's had an absurd influx of infections. That's obviously horrifying in a lot of ways, but what is it in India specifically that affects recovering COVID patients? Or is that just more of a, rather than a causation, it's more of a correlation, and there's something else in India that just happens to be affecting people who've already had their respiratory system so significantly damaged? Maybe, I don't know. Either way, I'm going to have to do some research on that. 561 days, 79% cure progress. Got really close there, but we were able to pull it back from the brink of defeat. 38,133 points, 2 stars. Honestly, it's a pretty good scenario through and through. Like, the customization is definitely there. It feels relatively well balanced. Some of the symptoms get a little on the expensive side. I suspect that it's really kind of assumed you're going to grab the symptostasis, but that's okay. We obviously still were able to make it work. I think this one's pretty good. And if it's accurate at all to the real-world black fungus issue in India, then so much the better. So bravo, thanks for sending them my way, and very well done. Thank you all for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.